To come on the show. And again, I'm working with Spark. I'm in their accelerator, so a slight disclaimer there. But I've known, geez, I've known you for how long have I known you? A long time.
Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah. So, and they have an event coming up. They being Spark in Ann Arbor. I don't have the proper name in front of me. I know it's 360. Is it Ann Arbor 360?
It's A2, so, abbreviation for Ann Arbor Tech 360.
Okay. Well, assuming that no one has any idea what we just asked about, why don't you explain what that all means?
Sure. And, do you mind if I start from the beginning?
Oh, go right ahead. Yes.
All right. So the reason that we originally did something that is turned into A2Tech 360, we did this thing called Tech Trek, which is sort of the capstone event for the week of events. And the reason we did it is in Ann Arbor, we have a pretty robust, entrepreneur ecosystem, lots of interesting startups, technologies being built, all that. But unless you work in that world, unless you're a person that works in tech, it's relatively invisible to the sort of the population in general. So we wanted to try and change that. We wanted to try and make our startups more household names. And I also had a bit of an ulterior motive, Mike. So I can trust you. So I'll tell you about my ulterior motive. These kids in K through 12 education, they're told to get a good college education, but then what? We have so many great companies here. Like back in the day, Duo Security, Google, Lamasoft, pick all those. And now we have the new crop of companies. But, when kids see, wait a minute, I could build video games. Wait a minute, I could, build robotic cars and all these things. That's really exciting. So, there's several different audience groups that I'll talk about, but it's a very kid-friendly week of events, and especially the Tech Trek event. So, there's some things we're trying to do to really make accessible our tech ecosystem because we have a great tech ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty familiar with it. I've
You're
lived here
in it.
lived here 5 times. The latest one here is now for 10 years. So I've gotten a chance to interview a lot of these companies and entrepreneurs. You mentioned Lamasoft being one. Doug Sung has had couple of great what are unicorns, I guess. He's not hurting for money, and he's like, but he seems to be giving money back to the community because he realizes that's a good thing. And there's a lot of other folks that are on their second or even third go around because they've had successful exits, and I've learned more through my mistakes than I ever learned through my successes. So I mean, I could write a book on what not to do as an entrepreneur because I've probably done it. Yeah, I mean, it would be. That's the thing, and all these companies are crying out for employees that are skilled. I mean,
Mhm,
but getting back to the AI conversation we were having, that would be
mhm.
a really valuable skill to have because that's not going to go away. It's only going to become more and more prominent going forward.
Right. Yep, absolutely. So, there's a couple different populations that I think find the whole lineup of A2Tech 360 really useful. The people that are in the ecosystem, you'd be a good example, Mike. You've got a company. So, as people that are trying to, sort of navigate the challenging entrepreneurship journey, we have events like, Hiring Right. NEF is doing an event at a company called NetScout on September 19th that's talking about, building your team and how to make the right hires. If you're a mobility company, we have a mobility summit on Monday, September 23rd. If you're familiar with the co-working space that's across from the Hands-On Museum on Huron Street in Ann Arbor, it's an organization called Cahoots that has a very nice, pretty new co-working space. They're running a panel called Get a Grip on Your Business, sort of tips and tricks for entrepreneurs to just be more successful. There's a Women in Tech event happening on Wednesday, September 25th. I can go on and on, but this is all on the A2Tech360.com website. So if you're an entrepreneur, there's a lot of content for you. But if you're not an entrepreneur, there's also a lot of content that you might find really interesting. Some of them are kind of fun. Like there's an A2 Art Center art lab happening. So, if kids are into creative art type of activities, that might be a really nice thing for them to attend. That's on Friday, September 20th. There's a sister city to Ann Arbor, Tübingen, Germany. They're bringing a whole delegation from Germany to compare notes with Ann Arbor about how to build sustainable communities. That's happening on Friday, September 20th. There's a Sustainable Future Forum, which I've had my fingers in. We're running a thing called the Green Business Challenge that's trying to motivate companies and reward them for adopting practices and becoming more sustainable. So, there's a sort of a celebration showcase going on at that venue facility. I don't know if you've been over there. It's where the Lucky's Market used to be on
Right next
Stadium
to where I
Boulevard.
live. Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
over
there you
there.
go.
Yeah, right.
So,
So,
that's kind of a neat one. There's a thing going on in Ipsy, a grub crawl called Ipsy Tasty. I mean, there's just so many type of events for people that are generally curious about learning more about the ecosystem. And I always say, bring your kids because, maybe we'll get lucky and one of them will think about being an engineer in a tech company in the future.
or something. And I don't want to do a plug for her, a shameless plug for Amanda Lewan, but she just opened her facility, the co-working space, Bamboo Ann Arbor, which is right downtown. I've been to several events there already, and big space. I'm not sure what was in that building before, but she's got a lot of building to work with there.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there's an organization called Nucleate that is hosting an event on Friday, September 27th. Now, that's the same day as Tech Trek, and they're literally just a couple days apart, or excuse me, a couple blocks apart from each other. So it's a life sciences career fair.
Hmm.
So, if you're somebody who's, getting a degree in biology or, life sciences is just a discipline or an industry you're really interested in, it's being hosted at Bamboo.
Ah,
So you can just walk over there as part of the experience. But to answer your question, before it was Bamboo, it was a company called Clink, which was an AI company. And then before it was Clink, it was the Kiwanis Center. So if anybody's curious about seeing what became of the old Kiwanis building, here's your opportunity.
yeah, she's for a woman her age, she's the same age as my daughter, and she's got three of these already. She's got one in Royal Oak, one main one in Detroit, and one in Ann Arbor.
Mhm.
Who knows? She's probably got others already planned. But for a 35-year-old woman, she's really very ambitious, and hats off to her.
Yeah, and the space is beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else you want to say about A2 360?
The only thing I'll say is as you're reviewing the events, and our main page makes it really easy, there's a nice tile for every event. There are the majority of the events are free. There are a couple that have an entry fee. But if you are a student or someone, I'll give you an example, the Mobility Summit. If you're a student or someone who would really like to attend, but the entry fee is an issue, you can always send us a note through the website, and we do have a certain number of scholarships that we
What
can
is
give
the
out.
entry fee now that you brought it up? Well, how much is that?
Oh, hold on. It's $150.
Okay, and for that you
So
get
that,
all day long and food, I'd imagine, and all sorts of stuff.
oh, we feed you, we swag you, and we educate you.
Wow, I like that. That could be your tagline. So,
There you go. Yeah, but that's one of the more expensive ones. Some of the events have like 25 or $50 ones.
yeah, I hadn't heard of one quite that expensive. And like you say, most of the time they're around 20, $30 or so. And certainly if you don't want to eat the food there, you're right in the heart of downtown Ann Arbor, and there's like 50 restaurants within 4 blocks.
Yeah,
So,
and that I'm glad you brought that up. We are for the first time going to be having food trucks.
ah,
And on Friday for the Tech Trek, we actually closed Liberty Street, and so
mm-hmm.
it's really cool. It's almost like a mini art fair. You can walk down the street and just talk to all of these companies in their tents. They'll have either their physical assets present or a TV screen explaining what they do. But what's so neat is you can actually talk directly to the engineers and people that built whatever it is they're displaying. So it's not like a sales and marketing piece. You can actually say to them, okay, you built an autonomous vehicle. Explain to me why you chose the LiDAR sensor instead of, something else. And how do you handle this technical challenge? The other neat thing I'll mention is there's a company in Ann Arbor called NAV Systems. No, I'm sorry, not NAVs. I always confuse these two. Not NAV Systems, Navitas, that provide solid state energy storage, which means batteries. They're going to be powering. We're trying to do half the street with battery power.
Oh,
So yeah, we'll be running it off their proprietary lithium ion chemistry battery packs.
Huh, interesting. Well, I'll try to
Yeah.
make it to that one for sure. And then, boy, you just chock a block full of stuff. The next, here we are. We're in the second week of September, so the third and fourth weeks in September are just one thing after another, right? All good things, but lots of stuff.
It's Ann Arbor in the fall. Students are back, football games are back on, and innovation is rocking.
Okay. One more time. Now, anybody wants to sign up for these programs, get more information, and then also if they want to reach out to Spark, I know those are separate URLs. So,
Yes, so the A2Tech360.com website will give you everything you need to know about all of the events that are happening. And if anybody ever wants to get in touch directly with Spark, our website address is annarborusa.org. And if I guess I made a little bit of an assumption that people know what Spark is, just to let people know what Spark in fact is we're an economic development organization that does three primary things. We serve early stage scalable technology companies as well as small businesses. That's a new addition to our portfolio being run out of Spark East. But we help, sort of nascent emerging companies be successful. We have an investment component. And then we also have a team that services the more mature companies in town. Think of like, Domino's Pizza. Love that company. It's a software development company.
hmm.
They also make pizza, so I hear. But
Yeah, I
really,
heard. Yeah,
it's
so
mostly software engineers in the Ann Arbor campus. Google, all these larger companies, even Toyota, they're doing really interesting work at their Ann Arbor R&D campus. So you can interact with these folks and learn about what they're up to during the week of A2Tech360. But I lead the entrepreneur services team, working with the companies that are about under roughly $5 million of annual revenue per year. There are resources in the state of Michigan that are absolutely outstanding. I'll even argue that Michigan is the most competitive state when it comes to supporting early stage technology companies. We can make up to basically it's about $100,000 available to companies. We don't take equity in the companies. They don't have to pay it back to us. We just want them to be successful here in our ecosystem. And that kind of non-dilutive resources just aren't common at all to find around the country. And then there's been lots of news lately about the state of Michigan really making a commitment to the growth capital space. So we can work with them in services during the early period of their life, but eventually there are some companies that are going to need to raise capital. So their Spark runs a component. The folks in Detroit run a great one. The folks in Lansing run a great one. The UP even has one. So does Grand Rapids. So there is a good sort of startup capital environment in Michigan. And then eventually you get so successful, you don't need us anymore. But we still take care of you. Once you're a Spark client, you're always a Spark client if you're a business.